Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea. I'm the tech translator for More4apps, and it's my pleasure to welcome you today to the first of our Product 101s. Our first Product 101 focuses on Supplier Wizard. I'm really excited to be bringing this series of webinars to our audience today. These webinars have been designed to give you a quick 20-minute session on our popular wizards and loaders. Today's presenter is Andrew Gooch. He is our technical lead that's based in Europe. Andrew has been part of the More4apps team for around about 10 years and is one of our product experts. He works closely with our customers, enabling them to get the best out of our products. I'm going to hand the presentation over to Andrew, but before that, just a couple of housekeeping matters. Please, if you've got questions or anything like that, pop them in the chat box down below. Now, this is a 20-minute session. We will be answering questions at the end, but if we can't get to them at all, we will make sure we follow up personally with an email. I hope you enjoy the session. Over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Can you give me a thumbs up, Andrea? You can hear me clearly? Nice. Yeah, great. Well, welcome everyone to a discussion today about supplier master data and how More4apps can help you tackle it more effectively with the Supplier Wizard. As Andrea said, I'm Andrew. Been an Oracle technical specialist for about 20 years now. And for more than half of that time, I've been technical and functional resource at More4apps. And I was the lead developer for the tool we're looking today at, the Supplier Wizard, until quite recently when we did a reorg. So let's get started. This is the agenda today. I'm going to start briefly by introducing More4apps and who we are and how we help people. And then I'm going to talk about the common challenges around supplier data management and how our products have solved those challenges for our customers. I'll do a quick demo then of Supplier Wizard. The goal with that is just to showcase some of the practical steps you can take to improve your supplier master data management. And then we'll finish off with some questions. So as Andrea said, if you've got any questions, we'd like to encourage you to put those to us in the chat. And at the end of this session, I'll try to address as many of those as I can. And if there's time constraints, we'll follow up with you afterwards to make sure you have your answers. And obviously, if after today's session, you'd like to arrange for a more customized demonstration with your company, or perhaps to arrange a free trial of the More4apps Supplier Wizard to test within your organization, just let us know. We're happy to arrange that. So, who are More4apps? For those that aren't familiar with us, here's a bit of background. We've been in the business of providing upload tools in the Oracle market for just a little over 20 years now. And we have a range of about 50 tools now in the EBS and also now in cloud. And in that time, the company's grown around the globe. So we have functional and technical customer support in all areas of the world. And we're generally recognized now as the market leader in spreadsheet-based loaders into Oracle. So this is the approach that we advocate. We're championing the use of spreadsheets as the front end to Oracle, in our case, Microsoft Excel spreadsheets. And these are great. They provide wide visibility of your data across a broad set of columns, rows and rows of capacity to load lots of things at once, and nice features like copy and paste and formulas, functions, and things like that to accelerate your data entry. Plus, they're in digital format, so you can fill them up from other digital sources relatively easily. Basically, the idea is to fill the data into the worksheet and load that data into Oracle without the need to click through all of those Oracle forms. And the data comes the other way too. With our products, you can draw information out of Oracle into the worksheet, manipulate it, make changes, etc., and upload it back as updates, or perhaps use it as a basis for reporting or any other processes that you might have within your business. All of our uploads use the Oracle public APIs with the Supplier Wizard, so they conform with your Oracle support obligations. These spreadsheet loading tools are not only going to help you reduce and eliminate a lot of your manual data entry, but they'll help you clear those backlogs of work caused by slow data entry processes that you might have now. So what are the challenges with supplier master data in particular? With master data, the main focus is on creating a trusted single source of truth. You want the highest quality data possible. And aside from the continual day-to-day upkeep of the supplier master, there are scenarios we see regularly crop up with our clients. Mergers or migrations inbound into EBS will lead to a lot of newly created suppliers. And outbound from EBS, you would expect a cleansing exercise to maximize the quality of that data in the new system. And that can mean a lot of work inspecting the existing information and determining what is relevant for the future. You might also have regular jobs updating particular values against the supplier database, such as the ones shown here, or in special cases, an external driver might coerce you to address the nature of your supplier master setup. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic we're living through right now has led to a number of our clients looking to renegotiate aspects of their supplier relationships. And that all leads to work reflecting those new roles in the supplier master. And Oracle's user forms don't really support these processes well. For a start, they're drilled down, so you don't get an overview because elements are hidden or one, two, or more subforms. With a spreadsheet though, you are much better off. The 2D grid layout lets you easily glance over the whole setup and highlights where data is missing for some suppliers or grossly misaligned. It all pops out quite easily and visually. One of the most common problems when supplier master hasn't been maintained as well as it might be are duplicated suppliers. And these could be there for any number of historical reasons, such as a merger or migration. Whatever the reason though, I've seen instances where the same supplier might be recorded 10, 15 times. And if invoices are being raised against those independently, you're going to have some real trouble associating those transactions for any reporting, volume discounting, anything like that. Obviously, we also need to keep our supplier banking details up to date to avoid missing any payments. And that can be a complicated process for large numbers of accounts or suppliers or supplier sites. And there are a lot of other areas which can change over time. And when they do, those changes need to ripple through the AP system. A reorg might mean your GL structures change, and that needs to be reflected against the suppliers. And when documentation comes in, or new contracts, etc., attaching those files to the suppliers can be a headache too. And as we all know, the major problem in business is that when things need to be done, they need doing yesterday. And much of what we have to do with supplier master data is short notice. So obviously, the quicker we can get things in and done, the better. But with the Oracle system, the forms, the interfaces, they don't lend themselves for large volumes of changes or additions in short time frames. I've done some bench tests with the Oracle forms in the supplier area, and this indicates between 5 and 7 minutes to onboard a supplier fit for payment, and even discounting allowances for errors. If you're only able to enter 10 in an hour, you're going to have some major problems when you start talking about hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of suppliers. And the same is true of updates. Updating fields nested deep down in the form structure takes a lot of time and effort, and is really prone to error. And we'll see in my demonstration shortly how the spreadsheet approach really lends itself to those sorts of problems. So as evidence of the gains you can expect to make using the Supplier Wizard, here's some graphics drawn up from some statistics gathered at the American Red Cross. The way that the Red Cross runs its business in America means the upkeep of a lot of suppliers. So any updates or jobs which need to run across the whole supplier master can be daunting. And I think those numbers there speak for themselves. Red Cross had processes that took them 3 weeks, which they could accomplish in 2 days with the More4apps product. So in ROI terms, the tools have really paid for themselves many times over. So I'm now going to give you a brief demonstration of the Supplier Wizard and show some examples of how it might look and how it might work to reduce your data entry bottlenecks. So I'll just switch over to my other screen to do that. So hopefully I don't stuff up the presentation. So I'm hoping you can see Excel now. Andrea, can I just get a confirmation from you that you can see the Excel screen?
Yes, definitely. We can see the Excel sheet.
Thank you. So we're looking at the tool as it's been opened up from the website download. So we're looking at an Excel spreadsheet, nothing more at this point when we load it on. What you do see that's different is these ribbons that are at the top here. So these are the functionality built into our spreadsheets in the EBS space, and you can see controls for various transactions. These are the two most interesting. And on this example sheet, I can also highlight the layout of the form. So you're going to end up with grey columns like this. This is for feedback. You can see in this example, there's some loaded values that have come back. And these clearer columns are all data elements, individual elements that would be loaded against suppliers, sites, addresses, and so on. And if you notice, if I'm not scrolling too quickly, you can see that they're broken up into sections. So you've got supplier bank account in this case, supplier sites, and all of that. And those correspond very closely to the way the Oracle Public APIs parameters are set out. So we're basically using the spreadsheet to front end to those APIs. You might otherwise be using scripts to do that. So this is a way of not having to use any IT resource to call those scripts. So let's look at a data sheet that I'm going to use. I've set up a small one here. This is one of the ingenious things with the More4apps tools, is that you can customize each of the sheets just for the task you're using. So in this particular example, I've got some columns for suppliers and I've got some columns at site level. So I'm going to load up some suppliers and their address information and their site information. Just quite a simple task. So I can start by getting the information into the sheet anyway. I'll just fix the spelling there. Excuse me. To create a supplier, you actually don't need a whole lot of information to create what's basically an empty supplier. But if you're going to be putting information in by hand, you're not going to see the wins that you're really looking for. So what we advocate, and most of our clients do this, is we're looking at creating external reports or source documents where people are building up their suppliers, in this case, as they go, the ones that need to be credited and used for a particular period of time, say a month or day, and then pass them over to a person that can paste them into this worksheet. And as long as your source document aligns column-wise to your loading sheet, everything arrives in the right place. And that's very simple. And for anything that's not in that source document, I could obviously enter it in, like I've entered the company in here. But for any values that are likely to be recurring for all of the records or all the sites, you don't have to put it in line by line. If I look at this row here, it's highlighted now, this is a defaults row. So anything that goes in there will just be populated where there's no value provided. So that's going to save me a lot of typing. So that supplier type will drop in here and here. It's not going to overwrite where I have a value. So that company one will be respected. And I can use that for things like terms and BOE for that pay group if I like. And where it's really useful is for things like addresses where, 90% of the time you'll be working in an operating area with one territory, so you could default the operating unit or the country. And that means my data collection is easier, but also I don't have to do a whole lot of tasks manually once the information's in the spreadsheet. So now I'm ready to load some suppliers. So I can either drag my cursor over and load a selection, or I can just do the whole worksheet. And I'm going to do the whole worksheet. And it's at this point, after I say, yes, I'm happy to proceed, that I start my dialogue with the Oracle system. So I've got some URLs set up for my instances, prod, QA, and test. So I just choose the one I want to use. In this case, I'll use what we're calling prod. These are all Vision instances, of course. And I'll log in. And that's going to pass me through to Oracle. And I'll put in my normal credentials that I'd be using if I was working natively, as long as I get my password right. And at that point, I need to select my responsibility. So the security within the Supplier Wizard requires me to be an authorized user of the maintain supplier form in Oracle. That's that's this form. So as long as I have access to that, I'll be able to proceed. And if I use an HR responsibility or anything like that, any loads I do will be blocked. I'll continue. And that's at this time, it's building the picture of my session, getting my security rules, working out validation lists, the GL segments that I have behind my flex fields or my key flex fields. So that will all be dynamically built into the worksheet. And now as I do the load, I can see my defaults drop in. They're highlighted in blue, so I can distinguish them between those values that I entered and those that the wizard generated. And as it hits a problem, this is a seeded error just to show you what an error looks like. It's going to report it to me. Now I can keep getting those reported to me, or I can look at them all at the end of the process. So I'll click on no, and we'll just see that get highlighted as an error. That particular supplier will be skipped for the load, and the rest of them will load. And at the end of the load, we'll be able to come back, look at where the errors are, and do any corrections that are required. It's loading about 10 at a time. So it doesn't take too long. I'd expect this to, it's about 25, 30 suppliers here. So we're looking at probably about 30 seconds maximum for that to load, depending on the caching. And if I was to do this by hand, 30, say, suppliers at about 5 to 7 minutes each, we're talking a number of hours. So you can already see the gains that you're going to get in terms of load times for bulk loading. And it's at this point that I start to think about the errors that I've got. So I have my error that came up in that prompt that's reported to me, so I can always read what that is. And it tells me the errors at the site level. So if I just scroll my cursor over, I can see also highlighted the error there. So I can fix that any way I like. Obviously, I'm using Excel, so I could just copy the value down if I knew that was the right value. But I also have a really nice way of doing a controlled value change. So if I double click, that's going to open up an edit form. And there's a tab for each of the sections of columns that I have. And each of these tabs has behind it, these controls, sorry, any validation rules that are there. So this is the supplier terms. I don't have an error at that level. If I go to the site level, I can see, again, it's highlighted red. And so so long as I pick a value that's in this, then it's going to be a valid value and Oracle will accept it. So I'll just choose that one. Obviously, in the real world, I would know exactly which one I wish to use. And then I can just highlight that row. I can do the whole lot again, or I can highlight the row. It'll skip anything that's loaded. But I'll just do that one, and you'll see it come back and fix that problem immediately. So if I was to look in Oracle now, I would see those. I won't do that because we don't have that much time, but it's an API load, so they're already there. And so the other main job that we're doing is maintaining. So this could be for cleansing, for migrations, or just the day-to-day maintenance. And that's another case where you might create a worksheet that's really customized for the changes that you're doing. So in this example here, I've got a sheet, it's just the supplier headers, and I'm going to make changes over here. I'm going to change the terms in the pay group. So let's imagine someone in the business has said, okay, I've got this list of suppliers, and they all now need to be changed to a new value for those two fields. So going into the forms would be cost expensive in terms of time. But I can just download those. If I did actually paste, I'm not sure if I did. Yes, I did. I can just put those supplier numbers into the worksheet and just select that area anywhere where those are and download them. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I'm drawing the information from Oracle. For any column that I have on the worksheet, it's going to give me the Oracle value that those suppliers have. So you can see it's brought down the existing terms, and these are the ones I want to change. So yeah, I can start typing that in, 110 space net 30. Missed the space actually, but I don't need to do that. If I know what they are, I can just put them up here at the top. So rather than put them down for each record, I'll just delete what else is there and let that defaulting drop in. Likewise, I've defaulted the update action to tell it to what it wants to do with that record. So again, I could either select it or do the whole sheet, and that's going to just drop those defaults in and do those updates immediately. So this is a really, really, really time efficient way of making changes where you've got the same value. And that's quite common if you're changing a lot of our tools, if you're changing one thing over to a new value because of the business rule. And at that point, I could download those suppliers to see that had actually occurred. I can download just the same information I did before. I'll see the new values come in here. So that's great. That is a successful change. I'd also see them on the Oracle forms if I went in. But I'm not just limited to the columns that are in the worksheet. If I download using the other option, the form option, I can pick my criteria that I want for my download. So this example, this form has controls for each of these elements at the various levels. So I could, for example, say, you know what, I'm going to bring down all the pay groups that match that, and I one time, and I just do a wildcard search there. So I could limit it by any wildcard criteria, but I'll just leave it open. And I can find 15 suppliers that meet those criteria, and I could have as many or as few criteria as I like. And I'll just download those in. And again, that's going to drop all the information that's relative to those columns that I have in the worksheet in. So that's really handy. And beyond that, there's another option, which I'm not going to talk about today because we do have time constraints, but I can also build custom queries with my own where clauses, my own rules built into the where filters if I want to go even further than that. So there's a lot of flexibility available. So the only other thing I should show you really is just the breadth of the support. So if I click on this control here, this is going to bring up a form, and it's just going to help me illustrate all the fields that the supplier wizard supports. So for each of these tabs, these are all very loosely, they relate to a particular API that the wizard is supporting. And so if I scroll down suppliers, for example, I can add any or as few of these columns as I like. And if you get down to the bottom, there's flex fields and so on. Now, all of that stuff is supported. And if I click through, you can see there's just a whole lot available. Now, adding every column to the worksheet is up to me. I can do that if I like. But the examples that I showed are what we recommend, where you kind of customize your worksheets to the particular task that you're doing, because it can get really hard to keep track of things if you've got 10,000 columns on a sheet. But for example, if I did a download and I noticed something like that, where there's a whole bunch of information missing, this is where downloading into the spreadsheet really helps you out, because you can see immediately when there's gaps in the field. So as opposed to the forms where you have to drill into each supplier to find out what that pay group is, I can see a quick overview, depending on the columns I have, of anything that's missing. You know, if you've got 5 or 6 values that don't correspond to the rest of them, those will stick out as well. So I get a great sort of visual feel for what and where my differences are between my suppliers. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm just going to change the share back to my other screen. I'm hoping that that was successful, and continue the presentation. So I hope that was illuminating, and hopefully you'll be able to imagine how that tool could be employed to relieve the pain points you have in your business, either at BAU or migration time. And as I've said, we've had really great feedback from our customers on how More4apps helped them with their data migrations, or for the pre-migration tasks like data cleansing, and also in the actual migration of the data in some instances. And obviously there are real wins with BAU, because your teams can spend less time traversing multiple screens when setting up new suppliers and doing mass updates, which means they can spend more time concentrating on their core business, their core tasks. And it ties into what I said at the beginning. When we discussed all the potential problems, if we can keep a high quality supplier master, then many of those niggling problems we face in the day-to-day running of our business go away. Late payments, complaints from suppliers, all that stuff drops away to the minimum. Now, many of our customers are using us now when they move to the cloud for all of those data cleansing tasks that you want to do, to make sure that when you start in the cloud, you start with your best foot forward, the best data available. So we'd be keen to talk to you if you're in that process, because I do think we can offer some really significant wins with that. And later on in that journey, we're available there to help you in your cloud environments too. Our cloud product line offers tools for that world, and we're releasing new tools and functionality there all the time. So if you're moving to the cloud, also please talk to us. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm going to open up the floor now to questions, and I'll do my best to answer them, or at least point you in the right direction. And if you've had you hadn't had the chance to put them in, there's still time to type them in, and I think Andrea's been monitoring, so she'll probably put them to me now.
Cool. We've got a question in the chat. Does the Excel wizard run on macros like, say, regular Oracle Web ADI?
It runs on a VBA project. It's a protected project, so it's running a VBA machinery. It's not using any of the Oracle seeded ADI stuff. It does work in a similar way. It's taking your commands being built and processed with VB, and then sent through the web through the DLLs that are used for the Internet Explorer.
I've got a question here in the questions thing. Can we add attached individual like backup documents per supplier and that sort of thing?
You can. I didn't illustrate it there in the demonstration, but yes, at supplier and at site level, you can attach documents. Obviously, you can also, the other types of attachments work there too, the text and so on. Most interesting is the file. So as long as you can see the file, you just need to have access to it. And there's a little form that will bring it up, and you just have to locate the file on your file system, and then you can load it. You can do them all at once, or you can do them individually. You do need to have your supplier created first, so you can't attach until the supplier is there.
Right. One of the things that we get a lot of questions about, Andrew, is training. So what sort of training is available, and do we offer training for more advanced users?
We will do whatever our customers would like from us. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but as part of the sale, I think there's about 3-4 hours provided now. Part of the trial process is it's a hand-holding exercise. So we would typically demonstrate to you, and then you would pass it off for a trial within your users. So we're always available at that point when you're evaluating. And most of the questions and problems come at that point. Once you're going to go live, you can make use of those hours. We can also add to that. I'm not sure, sometimes it's charged, depends on the problems you have. But we're always available to help our clients, and we have 24/6 support, so we can normally have someone online, within an hour's notice.
I've got another question here. Is there a spreadsheet template for uploading supplier parent-child settings that updates, say, supplier hierarchy in Oracle?
The parent supplier hierarchy is there. I don't think there's any linked hierarchy. If I'm right, if I just go across to here, I think people are talking about, where is it? No, I can't remember my way around. We support the parent of a supplier, and obviously the hierarchy can be built that way, but that's the only parent-child that's in there that I am aware of it at this time.
Okay.
I think maybe it's this.
Yeah. If there are any more questions, please just pop them in the chat. Something I'd like to ask, because I've found this quite valuable, when you're using the spreadsheets, can you literally create your own template, put the information in, and then upload it into Oracle that way, so you can create your own, I suppose, supplier template?
You can. I'm just changing back. This tool here is, we do actually have a thing called templating on some of our products. This tool here would recommend to be used where you create different templates as different tabs like this. Hopefully you're able to see this. Sorry, these ones here. So you would set them up as different tabs with different columns. There is an advanced templating module that's in some of our other tools on the AR side. The Supplier Wizard doesn't have that at the moment. So there's nothing to limit you from what columns you can have on different sheets, but you will need them as different sheets.
Okay.
But it's really simple to set them up.
Awesome. Well, it looks like there are no further questions, but obviously if you do have questions or anything like that, please get hold of us. You can email us at inquiry@more4apps.com, and we can pop the questions along to Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for presenting, Andrew. We do have another Product 101 on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will be covering our Customer Wizard, which is a really good complement to the Supplier Wizard. So if you haven't registered, please make sure you do. In the meantime, have a great day, and we look forward to catching up with you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.
I'll just